What is good? I go by Osiris, and this is Middle MAGA. The reason why I'm in the middle, I'm a populist, nationalist, constitutionalist, libertarian, MAGA communist. I represent that nobody's one thing. I'm a lot of different things. I'm going to give a shout out to MSNBC and Reid for hosting a discussion. I have not seen this yet. I'm like, let me just react live to it. Seen a couple clips. I've been looking forward to getting the time all day to sit down and just absorb this and enjoy the discourse. We don't see this much anymore. Let's get it. If you don't know, Joy Reid sat down with Byron Donalds. This is a conversation that needed to be had.
One of the unexpected features of the 4-day 15-ballot fight over the House Speaker's gavel was when Texas Congressman Chip Roy nominated second-term Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds for Speaker. Donalds got the votes of all 20 holdouts on 3 of the 15 ballots, and his nomination sparked a lot of conversation, to say the least. And joining me now is Congressman Byron Donalds. Welcome to the show.
Toy Mafia.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming down, basically across the street, because we're like really close to the Capitol. Right. So I want to start by just talking about, in the previous segment with Congressman Swalwell, we were just talking about the changes that are happening in the House under this new leadership. 3 people, including Congressman Swalwell, Ilhan Omar, and Adam Schiff, are being taken off their committees. Those who are being added, Congressman Santos is the one who made up his whole resume, allegedly, in New York.
Is he being added?
Gosar, whose family...
Oh, my God. I did not know that. No wonder Joy Reid started where she started. She wanted to start off with some strength. Did they add that, bro, George Santos? Now, I'm going to see, maybe he brings some type of talent to the table other than lying. I don't know. But that's not the bro that I would have chosen. Is that news that, and if some people don't like interrupting it, let me give you the link to the actual interview if you would like to see that. The link is in the comment section now, so you can just go straight to the interview. Some people don't like when it gets interrupted. I mean, that's the whole purpose of me doing it, is to interrupt it. So I will be interrupting. I did not know about George Soros. Santos. Pause. George Santos on the committee. Is that true? Let me see. George Santos committee. Obviously it's true. He's right there. Wait. McCarthy said George Santos shouldn't be on any top House committee. McCarthy wary of defiant George Santos committee assignments. So I do have to digress. I don't understand this. What is going on? I'm reading the news. I'm not sharing the screen yet, but McCarthy wary of defiant George Santos committee assignments. Let me just go ahead and sidetrack, and this is the first time I'm hearing of this. Very curious. The New York Republican says he's not resigning. My take is that he doesn't have to resign. It's up to New York number 3. I wouldn't want him to be my representative, though. Let's see here. In the wake, and nothing against anything he did. If you want populists to have power, you can have flawed people. They're not fake like politicians, but, I mean, just be honest about it. In the wake of news that Republicans in New York called for, I don't care if he's what he is there, Rep. George Santos to resign, Speaker of the House. What date is this? Yeah, this is today. Shouldn't be appointed. On his way to a Republican steering committee meeting, McCarthy responded to no to a question whether Santos should be seated on any influential committees. Yet there's so many people in the House. Why would you choose him? McCarthy's response comes as pressure mounts around Santos. Congressman, was he nominated? I was elected to serve the people of NY03. This is a tweet from George Santos. Yeah, and not the party. I agree. And politicians, I remain committed to doing that. We get to hear that local officials refuse to work with my office. Yeah, you got to work with them. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, I don't have an answer. Is he on a... Meanwhile, Democrats, several Republicans support McCarthy. Some critics argue that Santos' participation on committees could be dangerous. I don't know about that necessarily, but in the past, they've stripped people over controversies. Santos probably shouldn't be on the Intelligence or House Armed Service Committee. But I guess I'm going to go back to the debate. I guess you could make the case that if he shouldn't be on a committee, then really he shouldn't be in the House. I mean, you could make that case that he really doesn't deserve to be there if he can't be on the committee. And I would just say no, he shouldn't be on a committee. There's just too many other people ahead of him. Why would you pick him? I would just need to know the case for that. So good. Joy Reid started off with a place where I have not heard this, but to me, Byron Donalds is going to have to agree a little bit here.
Have said he's a white supremacist, attended sort of meetings of white supremacy and got kicked off his committees because he tweeted out an anime of depicting him killing AOC, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That's bull. I don't care about that. Next.
And Marjorie Greene, they're getting back on committees. I just wonder what you think of that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene should have never been kicked off a committee. The only one I have a concern with is Santos. And she's also bringing up, kicking off Swalwell, Ilhan Omar, and the corrupt one, Adam Schiff. Answering why he needs to get kicked off is an easy question. That one's easy. I guess it's easy for all three of those. Swalwell is a really easy one. And don't lie, Fang Fang was hot. I'm not going to lie about that. But that alone is why you should be kicked off of the committee. Banging Fang Fang.
You think that is a good look for the Republican Party?
No, I think going back on committees is what should happen. Look, what we told Democrat leadership when they went down this pathway of removing members from committee is basically saying you should not do that because if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Let's be very clear. Ilhan Omar has said things that are reprehensible. Hold on. Let me finish. She has said terrible things about the Jewish community, so much so that resolutions had to go to the House.
I don't get into all that. So I would not have gone that route that Byron Donalds went. She said terrible things about our country. I don't even need to get into all that stuff.
Floor about them, and they were watered down.
And then there's other stuff that I don't want to digress into with Ilhan Omar that are legit concerns. Talking about her brother and other stuff. She's never really answered for that. That's a problem for me. It's not just some meme online. That's real stuff.
With respect to Eric Swalwell and to the other gentleman, that's something for Speaker McCarthy to speak to in more detail because he's going to make those decisions. But we were very clear in the 117th Congress. We should not be going down this pathway of saying, oh, that member said this, they got to be kicked off of committees.
But
that
that's
is
happening.
No.
Did it?
What we're doing is, so you did it. So now this is what happens. This is the response. Let's get back to the status quo of you pick your committee people, we'll pick ours, and we'll go from there.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're not getting back to that status quo. If you're kicking people off committees and you're saying it's literally for vengeance, you're now admitting it's just for revenge. That doesn't sound like getting back to the status quo. It sounds like using committee leadership for vengeance. But that's what you just said.
If you want to change the rules, then we'll live by your rules. I don't think we should do that.
So is Joy acknowledging that it was wrong what the Democrats did? I don't know why he's not really fleshing that out. I can respect Joy's take there about revenge if she acknowledges what the Democrats did was wrong.
But if you want to change the rules that the House of Representatives has lived under since the beginning of the Republic, and now you're going to change them?
That's not strong enough. I think he needs to be stronger. I think part of the reason it's great to have him on, I think the biggest takeaway is not who won or lost. It's just have a discussion. We need to see more of these. Believe it or not, when I grew up, these were common discussions that were had on TV. People who didn't agree, the people that disagreed. But she won't have MAGA on. She won't do that. Because MAGA will go places that Byron is, I like Byron, don't get me wrong, but MAGA will go places that Byron will not go. Kind of where I was hinting at with Ilhan Omar and where I was hinting at with Fang Fang. How does that not come up? I don't know. We'll see. It's not over yet. But that Byron is, you could see why I say he's definitely not MAGA. He's more corporate. Because those things need to come up. They won't have anybody on air in MSNBC that will bring up those things. Those are legit things.
because you didn't like what somebody said.
I don't think that's a change in the rules. That's happened before. You know what? I'm letting you know. People have been removed
from. She was elected, but
people have been removed from committees.
I will say though that people being on and off committees has nothing to do with the work of the 118th Congress. We are actually going to get to border security. We're going to get to energy policy. We have to go through debt ceiling. We're going to have to figure out a way to cut our spending, curtail our spending, because we're living well beyond our means. That is the work of the Republican conference in the next Congress. This other stuff, it's kind of a sideshow.
It's not a sideshow because, unfortunately, it's kind of the show. So let's talk about some of the things that Republicans have said that they would actually like to do when they're talking about the agenda of the Republican Party. And this is what the chairs of the committees are saying that they're going to do. Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama says they're going to investigate woke social advocacy at the Department of Defense. That has nothing to do with the border or the budget. You've got Jody Arrington of...
So there's a lot to talk about. We have to define what woke means, at least what Byron Donalds believes woke means. See, now we're talking about these terms. What Joy Reid views woke is not what he views woke, is not what I view woke, is not what you view woke. We got to start with definitions. But it's only an 11-minute conversation, so you don't really have enough time. This has to be a long form. It can't be 11-minute conversation. There's not enough time to flesh these ideas out. I am not going to talk with you about woke without defining it.
Texas, saying they're going to restructure entitlement programs and slow spending, which is what you just talked about. But that means they would like to, in some cases, slash social programs, Social Security, things that a lot of Americans depend on and paid into. Michael McCall of Texas, investigate the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think that seems fair. Calling on Mayorkas to resign. That is what Mark Green of the Homeland Security said.
Wow, Joy Reid said that was fair. I've never heard her say anything bad about Democrats or fair criticism. Wow. Props to Joy Reid. Did she really say that was fair? Let me back up a little bit.
Withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think that seems fair.
Wow.
Calling on Mayorkas to resign. That is what Mark Green of the Homeland Security said is his priority. Calling on Secretary Mayorkas to resign. You've got Jim Jordan, who's leading Judiciary, leading a subcommittee to probe the, quote, weaponization of the federal government. You've also got those who want to investigate President Biden. But this one about weaponization of the federal government, that is about the FBI having a court-sanctioned raid on the former president, Donald Trump's home, because he had lots and lots of classified documents, hundreds of classified documents that he was not entitled to. And when he was asked to return them, he didn't. And also, it seems possible that it might be about going after the Justice Department for investigating the insurrection that Jim Jordan supported.
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, let's speak to the weaponization.
That's just so much. So she has him on. I still like the discussion, but obviously she does verbal vomit of like 5 minutes of stuff. My goodness. One of those topics could be like a 20-minute discussion.
Committee of the federal government. We see what's happening at Twitter. Twitter now is releasing documentation, ream after ream after ream, that elements of our government was actually in contact with Twitter about delisting comments, taking people off of Twitter overall. If that is not the federal government actually suppressing free speech in the United States, which is the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, Congress has a responsibility to investigate that. Number two, and I'm going to jump around to a couple of the members that you discussed. Mike Rogers on armed services. One of the reasons that we have to get into some woke policies at the Department of Defense is because recruitment is down at the Department of Defense. If our military is not prepared to deal with battles in the future because recruitment is down, shouldn't we go in and investigate all the things that...
Wait, hold on a second. No, hold on. What are woke policies at the Department of Defense?
Here is what I'm telling you. If there are issues at the Department of Defense that are
to say the least.
Since the beginning of the Republic.
That is a fair question. I messed it up because I lost my place here. That was a fair question Joy Reid asked, is what are the woke policies?
Trump's home, because he had lots and lots of classified documents, hundreds of classified documents that he was not entitled to. And when he was asked to return them, he didn't. And also, it seems possible that it might be about going after the Justice Department for investigating the insurrection on Secretary Mayorkas to resign.
Let me bring this back.
You've got Jim Jordan, who's leading Judiciary, leading a subcommittee to probe the, quote, weaponization of the federal government. You've also got those who want to investigate President Biden. But this one about weaponization of the federal government, that is about the FBI having a court-sanctioned raid on the former president, Donald Trump's home, because he had lots and lots of classified documents, hundreds of classified documents that he was not entitled to. And when he was asked to return them, he didn't. And also, it seems possible that it might be about going after the Justice Department for investigating the insurrection that Jim Jordan supported.
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, let's speak to the Weaponization Committee of the federal government. We see what's happening at Twitter. Twitter now is releasing documentation, ream after ream after ream, that elements of our government was actually in contact with Twitter about delisting comments, taking people off of Twitter overall. If that is not the federal government actually suppressing free speech in the United States, which is the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, Congress has a...
I don't like this as well, because it's not a suppression of free speech if your take is Twitter is a private company. If you go through the Twitter files, every communication said, I think this violates your rules. You might want to look into it. That's not a violation. If you believe Twitter, if you believe that nonsense that Twitter's a private company, that's not a First Amendment violation. People are not going to where you need to go, just like with the TikTok debate. The problem isn't China. The problem is we don't know what the hell the app is doing. We don't know what any of these apps are doing. So TikTok could be manipulating us. Google with YouTube could. Instagram, Meta, all of it. So the real issue is that needs to be opened up, and it needs to be public property, not government property, people's property. So I don't like this. To me, it's really the argument is the government wants to do an end round. I don't even know the right way to say that. They want to do a work around the First Amendment. So they contacted Twitter to ban people. Twitter, all these social media companies, they should be town squares. That's the take that I would like to hear there. But, no diss, he's doing well, but that's not where I would like to hear the conversation go.
Responsibility to investigate that. Number two, and I'm going to jump around to a couple of the members that you discussed. Mike Rogers on armed services. One of the reasons that we have to get into some woke policies at the Department of Defense is because recruitment is down at the Department of Defense. If our military is not prepared to deal with battles in the future because recruitment is down, shouldn't we go in and investigate all the things that...
Wait, hold on a second. No, hold on. What are woke policies at the Department of Defense?
Here's what I'm telling you. If there are issues at the Department of Defense that are decreasing recruitment, because the numbers are crystal clear at this point, and we have many members of our military who have complained about some of the programs that are going on at DOD. We have a responsibility to get to the bottom of that. My friend Jody Arrington, who's going to chair budget, he wants to look into the budget and also look into entitlements. Do you know that Social Security is going to be insolvent in 2035?
It is not going to be. That is not true. That is actually not true. No, it's actually not true.
Now, Joy,
it's actually not true. It's actually not. But it's actually not.
I believe Byron Donalds is correct here, but why don't they have a fact checker? They should have a fact checker right there or after the break.
To the financial community.
That's actually not true. That's actually not true.
Will go insolvent.
That's actually not true.
Those are the facts.
That's not true.
Should we not prepare
that is not
for
true.
that?
What the Republican Party and what the Tea Party have proposed is privatizing Social Security, which would actually subject Social Security to the whims of the...
I would have spent a little bit more time on the woke, because she verbally spit out all these issues. So he's trying to get the Social Security argument back, and he's trying to put out too many fires. My number one is free speech, so he did go after that. My number two is the woke, because the woke is what everything else is. And if you don't know, my definition of woke is when you let an authority figure outside of God decide your morality. That's my definition of woke. And I would have to flesh that out. But I would want to spend time on free speech and whatever he skipped over it. He did not answer what woke is, and I need to see that. You can answer with critical race theories, viewing everything is through the eyes of everything being racist. Then you can go through the advertising campaigns for the Army, military. We've talked about a ton of this different stuff in the chat. GB, shout out, talking about pronouns. All of that is woke. I mean, you go on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn asks you, what pronouns do you use? You can't get away from this. I know that's not the military, but you can't get away from this stuff.
market, which I don't think that people,
If you actually
that's not what they paid into. No,
if you look at the returns of the S&P 500 since 2006, the returns of the S&P 500 since 2006.
You're saying
I'm not excited about Social Security being privatized. Not excited about it because you've got ESG that is ruling the sector. When they say privatize, it's going to be all almost like a big 401k is my understanding of it. How's your 401k doing? He's going to talk about going, I did see this clip. He's going to go back to like '06 to now. It's done well, but I don't know. I think wokeism is attempting. This is not a normal recession that we're going to go through or we're in, whatever now. It is a restructuring of society. It is a cleansing society of businesses, small business, medium, and any large business that does not bend the knee to the church of woke. That's what this restructuring, this layoffs, all these things are. So this is not a normal time. So if you privatize Social Security, then that gets invested in the wokeism, in ESG. So I don't know if I'm for that. I don't know what the answers are on the Social Security. I'm not smart enough, but I'm not really feeling Byron's take on this one. I'm feeling him way more than Joy Reid, of course, but I'm not with either one of them on the Social Security discussion.
So you support privatizing Social Security?
No, I want to explain to you. I am a financial professional. I'm securities licensed. Actually, I just lost my licenses because I'm not allowed.
And let me just be clear. I don't want to get up in here talking about how I don't want to make it sound like I got all the answers. I'm looking at it on replay, and I don't have all the answers, obviously. Not as smart and not as composed. And Byron Donalds did a great job. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't come across the wrong way.
To trade anymore because I'm a member of Congress.
I think Joy Reid did a great job, too.
Mm-hmm. But let me assure you, if you look at the S&P 500 from 2006 until today, the growth rate in the S&P 500 would have more than taken care of Social Security, way more than the federal government
has. And each time that you had a crash, it would subject people's Social Security funds to crash. Hold on a second.
My answer is that's why I have the universal basic income. You don't get Social Security. The universal basic income is your Social Security. And I know I'm not for tying Social Security to investments, nationally to the S&P 500. Nah.
Let me just hold on a second. We're not going to have a whole long thing on Social Security, but let me just be clear. You are in favor of privatizing Social Security.
No, I'm not in favor.
But you just argued for it.
I said you just brought it up, and I brought.
Joy's right. I mean, it's odd that you would argue in favor for it if you're not in favor of it. She got him on the Social Security one, I think. Nothing else that I've seen, but on that one, she got him.
Brought you the facts.
But you are S&P
500.
So if a bill came forward to privatize Social Security, you'd be for it?
No, because what we should be doing.
Okay, then it's a moot point.
Yeah, no. Then what are we talking about? Let's move on.
Then it's a moot point.
It's not a moot point.
Then it's a moot.
Ooh, that's not a good one. That's not a good part for Byron here, even though he had the facts right.
Trying to put words in my mouth.
But you just explained that the S&P would be a better return than Social Security.
Better returns
so then you're for privatizing.
That is a fact.
Okay, so
don't cheapen privatization when the data is crystal clear that the returns would have been better.
Okay, you're for it. You've said that you're for it.
That means that it would have been a better situation than what we've seen to this point.
Let's go into some of the other things. You were nominated for Speaker.
Yeah.
You've been in Congress one term.
Yes.
What were your qualifications to be Speaker of the House?
Well, look, I think my colleagues, they recognize my leadership, and they've seen it in many leaps and bounds,
Can you
even
give specifics?
in one term. Secondarily, I've served before at the state level, now here at the federal level.
What were your specific qualifications to be Speaker?
I actually understand budgets. I understand what the law...
Okay, no. That's a hell of a question from Joy Reid. She's all this blackety black. I'm not blackety black, but I wouldn't ask that question. She's all this blackety black. And what's your qualifications? Number one, my qualification for Speaker is if my party voted for me. I don't have the qualifications this is what my answer would be. I don't have I think I can do the job, but the qualifications for Speaker are to be voted by your peers to be Speaker. So I don't have the qualifications to be Speaker. Jim Jordan didn't. Who else did they put up for? Ken, what's his name? Kevin, or whatever his name. Kevin McCarthy is the only one that had qualifications to be speaker because he got the votes. That's the qualification. But let's separate that, Joy, from can I do the job? I know I can do the job. You don't think I can do the job? Joy Reid sounds like a racist KKK member. Why wouldn't he be able to do the job as speaker? Why would you think he couldn't do the job as speaker, Joy? These people are the most racist. These people are ugly people. Joy, that is ugly stuff. I mean, I don't know what's in her head, but I gotta ask Joy, why don't you think he has the qualifications? What's going on in your head? My goodness. What was that about? What? There's so many things to talk about when you have a rare time to have a debate, and he didn't become speaker. Why are we even talking about it? Whoa. So she put him on there. That's probably the whole reason why she wanted on there, to kind of set him up with that question.
Secondarily, I've served before at the state level, now here at the federal level.
What were your specific?
Nah, I'm not right. I'm not. No. Google me. Google me. I'm not rattling off my resume to you. No. I'm not doing that. If you don't think, Joy, do you think I have the qualifications or not? Because you obviously aren't in our party. You're not my peer. You wouldn't vote for me. I'm not selling myself to you, okay? And we already have a speaker, so I'm not even selling myself to anybody else. So don't Google me. Google me. I'm not qualified because they didn't vote for me, but I can do the job.
Qualifications to be speaker.
I actually understand budgets. I understand what the long-term ramifications are.
What is the job of the speaker? Hold on a second.
What is the job of the? See, I can't lie. I would get a little elevated here. I couldn't. Props to him for staying composed. What is the job of the speaker? Do you have a cell phone? Google it. What the hell kind of patronizing question is that? What is the job of a speaker? Okay, Google, what does the Speaker of the House do? What the hell kind of question is that? Do you have producers, Joy? What you brought me on here to ask me what the Speaker of the House does? Where are you going with that? Are you asking because you don't think I know, or what's the point of that? I couldn't do that. I think I'm finding out I couldn't do these. Because they would have to get cut to break. Nah, that's not gonna work. Because it's disingenuous. If it was a genuine question, if it was actually like a genuine question, we can have a genuine discussion. See, the problem is it's great to have this sit down, but the problem is the goal of the sit down is to try and trip somebody up. I'm not sitting down with Joy. I'm not going to be trying to trip Joy up. I'm going to try and sit down, and I actually want to find out where we agree. Matt Gaetz always has been talking about, look, a lot of people on the left agree with these rules that give the whole House power, not the Speaker too much power, because Nancy Pelosi was on God mode. A lot of people in Democrat Party, AOC was on a radio interview, and she agreed. Because she had no choice but to agree. So Joy Reid's trying to trip him up, and I'd be like, Joy, come on, girl. What kind of question is that? Why would you ask me what the Speaker of the House does? We've got 10 minutes to have a discussion. You skipped over the First Amendment. You didn't even comment on it, and you're asking me what the Speaker of the House does? Go to a library. Now, that wouldn't show up well. You couldn't do that, but that's what's in my head.
We have to have a conversation.
I'm trying.
What is
You're cutting me off.
Hold on. What is the job of
answer.
Speaker? Can you explain what the job of Speaker is? Because the job of Speaker doesn't have to do. Every single member of Congress has served in. Okay, what is the job?
The job of the Speaker of the House, number one, is to actually make sure that the Congress is operating on time.
I'm not answering that question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Joy, if you or your viewers want to know what the Speaker of the House does, you go to Wikipedia. Here's why we took 4 days which is nothing. We take 6 weeks off vacation to do nothing anyway at times. And when Nancy Pelosi was in charge, most of them didn't even show up. See, you have a chance to go on the show and expose things. We can't be, Byron Donalds is great. He's the corporate guy. He's buttoned up. But we're not this is not 1980, bruh. I need you to take that opportunity to expose things. The reason why we held off is because we got these concessions. We want 3 days. Do you know how the omnibus $1.7 billion, was it trillion or billion? Trillion, right? 1.7, I forgot. It's trillion, of course, I think. Billion's nothing anymore. 1 trillion spending bill was passed, and we had barely any time to read it. 4,500 pages. And that's why we had to take time to get these rules in place so we can have some power against the Senate. See, I would have taken that opportunity to go down a different route and say, Joe, I'm not answering. You don't need me on the show to do that. I'm not trying to disrespect your viewers or anything like that. If you want to know what the speaker does, that's a great question, rudimentary question. Go Google it. Let me take the time to make the case why Matt Gaetz, why the 20 people were patriots, why I view them as rebel patriots, the Steadfast Five, all that kind of stuff, why I fully support what they did. That's what I would have done.
Sets the agenda for the conference. I mean, for the entire House of Representatives.
He's answering the question of what the Speaker of the House does. She got you kind of not looking bad, but she got you doing something that she is able to say she had you on. But for how long? 2 minutes out of a 10-minute clip, you're explaining what the Speaker of the House does. She's complete, and then she cuts you off the other 8 minutes of it.
He engages in negotiations with.
Why don't you have Matt Gaetz on? That's a brother that knows his stuff. You don't want those problems though. What about Nick Fuentes even? You don't want those problems.
The Senate and the White House on major issues, key issues. The Speaker of the House has security clearances that most members do not have. You're number 3, obviously, in the line to the president.
This would have been a better answer. Hike Martman always has the right response. Hike Martman. Google says Speaker of the House rips up speeches and eats richly rich ice cream. Bars. That would have been a better response, actually. That, in all seriousness, like you could have dropped that line in there. I don't have the wit like that, but you could file away that line and then go into whatever else. That actually would have been a dope line. But that's why they had him on, because they know he won't do that kind of stuff.
And there's much, much more. And the job is critical. Oh, and by the way, the Speaker of the House is also responsible for security and
fundraising. Right. And so,
he got a little bit of a line in, and then she talked over him. Did you hear it? He said I got you. Speaker of the House is also in charge of security. What was that? And she talked right over him.
And there's much, much more. And the job is critical. Oh, and by the way, the Speaker of the House is also responsible for security and fundraising. Right. And so
Joy is good. She knew he was going down that security route, and he's not. I don't think he's going to go back. Joy talked right over it. Listen to that. Joy talked right over him.
Much, much more. And the job is critical. Oh, and by the way, the Speaker of the House is also responsible for security and fundraising.
Wow, look how quick. I know this. Joy, you better not call me any type of coon or all those type of words. Don't do that. Don't do that. She dove in front of that bullet for the Democrat Party. She saw that Byron Donalds had that bullet, like figuratively, and she was like Supergirl. She was like, let me take that route. Joy, you taking incoming fire for who? Your Dem Masters? Wow. Look how quick she took that fire.
Number 3, obviously, in the line to the presidency. And there's much, much more. And the job is critical. Oh, and by the way, the Speaker of the House is also responsible for security and fundraising.
Look how quick she that was like the Matrix. He had got that line out. He had barely got the line out. And she was like, no! And stopped the bullet. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That is skillful. That's like Wonder Woman. She was just like, beep, beep. She jumped in front of the machine gun. It was like, beep, 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 beep. Wow. How did she know? How did she know he was going to say it? Listen to this. She jumped right in front of the bullet. Wow.
And there's much, much more. And the job is critical. Oh, and by the way, the Speaker of the House is also responsible for security.
And fundraising, right. And so you've been there one term, and you're saying that you would be prepared after one term to do the job that Speaker Pelosi and others who were in leadership. You ran for leadership, and you lost that leadership race to the a congresswoman who ended up being in leadership, right? So you were not elected to leadership, but you believe that though you've never served in leadership, ever, and you've only served one term, that you believe you were qualified because you got into it back and forth with a fellow.
She's still talking about if he's qualified. I didn't nominate myself, Joy. Others did. We had a problem where we couldn't choose the speaker because of these things, and my colleagues nominated me. I know you wouldn't nominate me, but why are we still talking about this?
Congresswoman who was critical of the nomination because it definitely looked like they were looking for a response to Hakeem Jeffries in you.
No, that was not anything.
You've literally been there for one term. So you do not.
That's where she was going to go.
I'm asking you.
That's where she was going to go. She called them the token. Wow. This is a debate that's happened a lot within these black people. Oh, so now he's a token. Oh, if he was a Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries is not a token. Oh, no. He's all qualified. He's fine. Byron Donalds is a token. Oh, that's where she was going. She called him a token. Oh, so when you jumped in front of that bullet, like you were Neo in the Matrix, when you just jumped in front of that bullet, you weren't a token, Joey? Joy, how'd you get your job on MSNBC? Could you disagree with your Democrat masters and still have a job? And I'm the token? I disagreed with Kevin McCarthy. I voted against him. People nominated me over him for a little bit. And I'm the token? That's wild. Wow.
In you.
No, that was not anything.
Because you've literally been there for one term. So you've never been in leadership. I'm asking you the question.
I'm answering.
That's what, and the reason I'm asking that, I'm just going to ask.
She stopped him again because he was going to go, wait, he was probably going to go with some black D black. Like, why are you going to be black and do this to me? I'm black too. And she stopped him. She didn't want to go that route. But here's my thing with that though. I don't know. They might have, because in those speeches, they were saying the first black. So they did say that kind of stuff. And I was like, stupid. So here's my answer. My serious answer from Byron's position would be, I don't know. They told me that they didn't tell me they voted for me because of some token issue. But here's the problem with you and our country right now, Joy. You say that there's racism where you can't prove there's racism. You say that there's tokenism where you can't prove there's tokenism. This isn't like you could argue you swap a white Little Mermaid for a black Little Mermaid. That's tokenism. That's not what this is. So we don't know for sure. So Joy, I don't know what's inside anybody's heads, but I trust them and they said this. Are you a token, Joy? How do you not know? We have to be able to be comfortable in this world where we can't read other people's minds. I don't know, Joy. Either way, was Ketanji Brown Jackson a token? They literally said they wanted a black woman. Is she not you could go that route. That's the route I would go.
Ask you this question. Is one of the things that, I don't know that you said it, but members have said, is that they wanted to highlight the diversity of the conference. There are 4 African-American members in the House.
Sorry to interrupt again. Isaac Hall, man, bars in the chat today. I'm going to have to be out in a couple minutes. Bars. Isaac Hall, friend of show. Thank you, Isaac, as always. Says being a token is a choice. See, his answer is 6 words, and it's better than the 30-second clip that I said. Wow. I love when you can be concise. It's very difficult for me. Look how concise it is. If Joy Reid would have said, "Hey, did they pick you because you were black?" and you say what Isaac Hall said, being a token is a choice. Woo! Way better than my answer. Thank you, Isaac.
Question.
I'm answering.
That's what. And the back and forth with a fellow congresswoman who was critical of the nomination because it definitely looked like they were looking for a response to Hakeem Jeffries in you.
No, that was not any.
Because you've literally been there for one term, so you do not. You've never been in leadership. I'm asking you the question.
I'm answering.
That's what. And the reason I'm asking that, I'm just going to ask you this question, is one of the things that I don't know that you said it, but members have said is that they wanted to highlight the diversity of the conference.
It's a fair question.
There are 4 African American members in the House caucus, the Republican caucus. There are 56 members in the Democratic caucus. So just it's more diverse. There are more African American members just that are House committee ranking members. They're at the same number that are actually members of the entire Republican House caucus. Right. So do you not believe that the idea was to make a diversity statement by nominating you?
Okay, Joy, what you're trying to do is this is your roundabout way of calling me a token, and being a token is a choice. Then the other part, so I'm stealing that from Isaac, the other part of it is you define diversity different than I do. There's a lot of colors on the Democratic side, but when the Democrat masters tell to jump, everyone in unison says, how high, massa? How high do I need to jump, massa? I'm not talking about black or white. All of them say massa. Where do I go, massa? How high do you want me to jump, massa? That's why it took so long for us to get speaker, because we do have diversity. You just look at diversity as if it's skin deep.
Actually, first, that was not the idea, because I was in the room when the decision was made by people who chose to nominate me. That never came.
And you've still not explained how you were qualified. You've never been in leadership.
Are you going to let me answer your question?
Sure,
or you
tell
want
us.
to talk over me? Okay. Number 2. Now let's go back.
Yeah, especially since that's like you calling a bruh a token. Let him have a chance to speak.
The reality is that a lot of members actually do believe in my ability to lead. They do. Am I to be despised for my youth because I've served one term, when members know that I have the ability to engage other members through the conference? But it's even bigger than that. Listen, we were at an impasse last week in our speakership elections. We got that done. Kevin McCarthy is now Speaker of the House. At the same time, I was working with members on both sides of our conference to make sure that we can get the job done, and we did. And that's the only thing that matters.
Is that it? Wait, why did it cut off like that? What was the last question?
Speaker of the House. At the same time, I was working with members on both sides of our conference to make sure that we can get the job done, and we did. And that's the only thing that matters.
That was weird. Okay. Well, I gotta be out anyway, so I guess we got everything except for the last question. But thanks, y'all. That was fun. Again, my biggest takeaway is still props to Joy Reid, MSNBC. We need more discussions like that. I think they both showed up well. It's very tough to do that in 10 minutes. There's like, what, 10 minutes is the whole clip? You can't really get too substantive in 10 minutes. For me, you got to go into that with an agenda, though. My agenda would have been free speech, explaining why it took, the speaker debate. I don't know what the other agenda would have been. I kind of lost track there. But props to Byron Donalds and Joy Reid. Thanks, all. Take care. Oh, hold up. I'm going to be on with Broken Traditions. Pinned in the chat tonight, 9:30. If you're watching this on replay, just click the link in the chat. It will be there on replay. Broken Tradition and Che of No Spoon podcast. Going to be spicy. We're going to talk about suddenly. People suddenly collapsing. So tune in. Sub up to Broken Traditions, friend of the show. Take care.